Hello, it's Debra Jason, the accidental artist with Creative Whispers of the Heart. And today I'm just going with the flow. I'm using an 11 by 14 inch piece of mineral paper with Laguna and Glacier inks. You see, I've already laid the inks down on the paper and they've dried. And now I'm adding isopropyl alcohol. This is 91%. And I'm just blowing the alcohol around to move the ink that's already laid down on the paper. I don't really have a design in mind yet. So I put down some alcohol. Now I'm going to add some brass and just move the ink from the bottom toward the top. You can see I'm getting those little spindly things there. It's because I'm putting the blow dryer kind of right on top of the ink and the alcohol. I'm not worried about it because I will be able to move those and get rid of them later, and you'll see how. Right now, I'm just pouring down the alcohol and spreading it with the dryer. I am using the cool air function on this dryer. It's a 500-watt hair dryer. And I'm adding more brass, more alcohol, and just blowing it around. Again, not worrying about those little spindly things. Just moving the inks, activating the ink that's dried on the paper. And blowing. Ooh, look at all those spindles. But I'm not worried. Adding some more brass and some alcohol so that you can see there'll be brass toward the bottom that moves up toward the top, and blowing it around. You'll notice I'm not adding any ink, just alcohol. And here's the first step where I'm getting rid of some of those little spindly things. Just added alcohol, blowing it around, and reactivating the ink and moving the dryer from left to right and top to bottom. Sort of a circular motion, you'll see. Now I'm going to go for those Laguna spots there, those little spindles, and blow the alcohol. Top, right, left, bottom, creating a circular motion and getting some ripples in the circle. Not quite like a rose, but getting a circle of ripples as I move the dryer around. I'm going to tack those spindles down there on the bottom, add the alcohol, and blow. Bottom, left, right, up, down, a circular motion pretty much. And again, it will create a circle of ripples. And also some wispy color. So it's not just that dark solid color, it lightens up. Going around. So you can see I'm sort of getting a pattern with circles of ripples. They're on the top and down on the bottom. I think that's the direction I'm going to go as I go with the flow. Alcohol inks have a mind of their own, so sometimes when you sit down, what you have in mind may be totally different than what comes out at the end. But I'm going around in a circle, creating those ripples there on the bottom. Now I'm going toward the top where all those little spindles are, adding alcohol, again, not adding any ink, just adding alcohol and blowing it around with the blow dryer from the side, the bottom to the top, going around in a circular motion and blowing that alcohol around, getting the ink to move just by adding alcohol. There's a little bit of humidity in my room, and you could see some of that in the lines of that circle, but we're going to take care of that as well as we continue to go with the flow. Now I'm going to go after those little spindles up there add some isopropyl alcohol, and move my blow dryer around in a circular motion. You can see how that creates a circle as well as makes those little spindles disappear. In the corner here, this mineral paper is very light, so when I add the isopropyl and start to blow on it, it kind of moves around, so I have to hold it down. I probably should have taped it, but I'm just going to use my left hand to hold the paper down and blow the isopropyl alcohol around so that I can fill that corner with some color. Then I'm going after that spindle below it. Again, I have to hold the paper down and just blow the isopropyl in a circular motion and make that little spindle disappear. This blue area did not have any spindles, but I wanted to lighten it up. So I added some isopropyl alcohol, and now I want to create that kind of circle with ripples, or ripple circle, just by blowing the isopropyl around. Left, top, right, bottom, and creating a circle of ripples. As I go around it, the closer I get to the center, the quicker I go to sort of dry the center. So there it is. Now I move the paper around to the other side. Again, I have to hold it down because I'm in this corner here and I don't want the paper to totally blow away. So I'm holding it down and blowing the alcohol around to fill that corner of the paper. Now I'm going to get rid of those tiny little spindlies up on the top. And you can see when you add some alcohol and move the color, that's when you get some of that wispy effect because it becomes a lighter color just by laying down some alcohol. You can see here I'm going in that circular motion. And now I'm going to fill in that spot there. Well, actually it's already filled in, but I feel like I want to lighten it up a little bit, so I just added some alcohol. And going top, left, bottom, right, and creating a little circle in there. Now I'm taking a makeup applicator and I dipped it in some alcohol and then I tap it on a paper towel and I'm creating little dots within this circle. I wanted to smooth the edge of this circle. You could see toward the top, it's a little, I don't know what the word is, but there was some humidity in the air. So I found that doing these little dots helped soften the edge. And again, I'm just taking this micro tip applicator. Some use it for makeup, I believe. Dipping it in alcohol and then tapping it on the paper towel just so it's a little bit moist, not really, really wet, so that it doesn't make the ink bleed, but it creates these little dots as I tap it around the circle. So I'm just going around and around. And then I do it on a few other circles in the image. You can see here I've done it to some other circles, and now I'm taking a Q-tip, dipping it in my palette where there was already some dried ink, but just adding a little bit of alcohol reactivates that ink, and I'm making little dots that go from the top left down to the bottom right. Then I take the makeup applicator with a little bit of alcohol and tap the center of each dot so that it activates the ink, makes it a little lighter in the center. You'll see that later when I do an up-close image of the painting. But just tapping it with the little applicator Now you'll see there's some gold and there was actually some silver in that palette. So I put a drop of alcohol, mixed it up, and now I'm adding some gold silver dots. And again, that was just in my palette, dropped a little alcohol in it to reactivate the ink. So I'm laying down dots. And now I want to carry those little gold silver dots through the existing colors so to connect the dots so that it all ties together and goes with the flow from the top left to the bottom right. Now I'm taking a brush and going back to my palette where I had a little bit of that Laguna that was dry. With a little bit of alcohol, it reactivates. And now I'm creating some more dots just using the Laguna. Sorry, my hand is in the way, but you can see a little bit better when I head down toward the bottom here, just making little dots with the brush. And again, carrying it through the Laguna and the Ranger so that it all connects the dots and makes the piece flow. Take the microtip applicator, dip it in the alcohol, and now I'm putting it in the dots, again to activate the ink from the Laguna dots that I just put down. You can see it a little bit there, how it lightens it up when I just tap it in the middle and it activates the ink. So I don't want the ink to spread there, I just want to lighten up the centers of those dots. Going back to the Q-tip and adding some of those blue dots, that's Ranger blue. Excuse me, it's Ranger Glacier blue. There you could see how the alcohol just activated those two blue dots just by tapping it with the microtip applicator that has a little bit of alcohol on it. Now I'm making sure that the blue goes through to the other side. So you see I keep alternating from the left to the right, top to bottom, adding some gold now to those dots. Continuing with the theme of going with the flow. So you see now I've added some splatters of ink across the whole page, splatters of Ranger and Laguna and some brass. Basically, I took a brush with some of the color on it and tapped it on another brush. That's what you see me doing here. That's what creates the splatters across the page. I took some Ranger, then I took some Laguna, and there you can see the splatters. There's even some silver and brass in there. And now that I think the piece is done, you can see how the brass just glimmers in the light. It looks so beautiful. And that's the alcohol ink art process of going with the flow. Here's the full piece and a little bit of close-ups so you can see some of the texture. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you will like it. Post a comment below or share it. And if you've yet to do so, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks a million for watching.